friend, I'll say it clear.
Oh, there we go. That's it.
Say my case in which I'm certain I live what a lie that's full. I travel each
Alright, so I can share that now.
my way and more,
Watch the live stream here.
much
Copy link.
more than this. I did it my
Yeah.
way.
This drops on the light levels.
Okay.
Regrets
Put it out on
I had a few, but then again,
how's that look? That looks fine
you
too.
were
That's
to
pretty good.
me.
Just needs to be turn up now.
No,
I'll be back.
here we
I'm just gonna
go.
shoot down through the assembly.
Now
Where's
I
mine?
know.
Just put the bunch on the table there.
There is no
Cool, we did indeed. Hey team. When? Are you both going? Okay. Alright, when? Okay, that's the priority and Harleen's stepping in, that's fine. Alright, sweet. Thank you. See you in a bit. Here is live link. By the way, we are live, everybody, so
And that's a camera just right in front of it.
you come to watch? You want to what? You want to actually debate?
I guess I'm here to
We are aiming
by
to
the way,
start at
Camera was in live stream.
just before the hour.
Is this legitimately live?
Yeah,
That is not on live.
I've got the link.
Well then. Hello.
I'm guessing we're going to wind up as used to debate.
Well, we're going to find out.
I'm so afraid.
Do you want to? Do you want to? If you want to, just put your numbers down on there, and I'll make sure you get your attendance for this.
Oh yeah, I saw that in bio.
Just
you
where
can put it
are
in
the basics? That's all I know. Who have we got? We've got
They actually have that.
how's it going?
Whereabouts?
We've got
I didn't really look up much of you.
now Portia was Tatiana's here, and for who? How is she not in?
Requires a whole lot. I'm not sure. You can host.
And where do we? And where do we sit?
Let me sit here.
Come over here, team.
You sit here. But this is here.
No, we're going to sit here.
So you're going to be under the debate part?
I'm there like basically the dinner. Are you opening first?
There's four, I think. 4 people.
Wait,
Hey, come over here, girls. Come over here.
Wait, there's only 4 people? So, wait, so how's everyone going to speak? Is everyone getting asked questions? So, is everyone going to be asked questions?
Right. This is what you guys have sorted out, eh? There's the, that's the script.
Oh, are we literally just
Sometimes a little bit more interesting. So who are our, we've got Tatiana's here, Felicia, James, Winnie. 4. So where are these guys?
Oh, there's two people watching it. Is one of that
What's your name?
one of those people us?
Oh, but we can do it later. We'll see you here. Go and have a chat. You'll be fine. Yeah. Where's James? Okay, so we've got 3 people today. That's all right. Have we got 4? Anyone else? Is 1, 2? That's it. Come over here, Tim.
God, there's 2 people watching.
I love all people. I'm looking for somebody. But since I found you,
You know what? I would love to help you, but I'm
will you
looking
transfer?
Yeah, write me down for whatever number you'd like me to do. Would you like to knock off 20 straight away, Mackenzie? Not a problem. I got
For
you.
real?
I got you. Put me down for 20.
Shall I just give you my account number right now?
Yeah, man. Just
Should I write a piece of paper?
I haven't got paper, but yeah, you do that.
Really?
Yeah. So $20 for that.
Thank you.
Good.
Bye.
See you now.
Bye.
When's your, what's the score? Is it to get beers or something?
Yeah, it's for social tournament.
Cool,
So
mate.
when will you send an invite?
I'll do it today.
Yeah.
I'll start some chatting, eh?
Hey?
We'll start some chatting on the live stream.
I said we'd get going just before the hour, so we've probably
So
got...
welcome to Big Zig Decision Show.
This is so weird.
So what's your opinion? Very modern. So you're literally just someone that doesn't care.
So, I think that you know what the rules are, eh?
So
Yeah. Have you got your time off? You got time? Sweet. And Harlene's in the middle. Harlene's in the middle. You're on camera, eh? The weather's not
one person watching at the moment.
Okay, that's alright. That's alright.
Come and have a seat.
Well, teachers. Well, teachers really. There'll be a lot of people still.
I am going to
I haven't got research. I just got
2 minutes, 2 minutes, folks, 2 minutes.
What sort of website?
So guys, remember, respect them. Just do that.
Okay, BBC, you need to take note of this video while you're there, okay? Take note of this. Okay? Cool.
It's funny how the stream's caught up minutes before there was a big light.
Just being atmosphere. Like, we're gonna be
So whoever's talking needs to have the
So what I've got is I've got
Alright.
Hello.
Sing us a song if you like.
So yeah, this is what's live,
Yep.
and then we can interact with all our chats and comments here. And
That's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to jump on.
you're not judging us.
So the idea is that I will put. I need to get the shake up in the middle.
How much do you know about
So we can show that. Yeah, don't actually open this up. You can open this up on your computer as well at the same time. Yeah. And then we can both moderate because Mark's going to run the assembly,
Yep.
so I can be here the whole time.
Cool.
It's only streaming in 720, but that's alright. Because it's saying I'm inputting at 1080, but it's only coming out at 720. So I think it's just good. We're live on YouTube.
I'm gonna be is there a They're just sitting on the bench staring at each other. I already really self-claimed image realized and I'm really to put up with this. Let's get on with it then. 3, 2, 1.
Kia ora and welcome to the big digital citizenship debate. My name is Harleen, and today we're debating whether social media is a force for good or a force for evil. We have a live audience, and this production is being streamed via YouTube to the school community and the wider community. We welcome everyone who's watching either live or online. So without further ado, let's meet our debating panelists, who in no longer than 60 seconds will introduce themselves and their point of view in relation to the question.
My name's Jennifer, and I'm kind of on the fence about social media. I think there's some really good things about it, but also some really bad things about it.
My name is Tatiana, I'm year 12. I am the same as Jen. I'm on the fence because social media is just like any other thing. It's a tool, and it's up to you the way you use it. Kia ora everyone, my name is Talasia, and I am 4 because, yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Tin Hoang Tran. I am on the fence like two of the other people, but I'm more towards the bad side. Like I see that social media can be used potentially for bad.
Thank you, panelists. Now on to the real debate. For the main debate, we will have some general rules. I'd like everyone in the panel to be concise and clear when making your points, and also to be respectful, because everyone's opinions are relevant and they matter, so please keep in mind. We also have Abraham, who will ring the bell when time is up, so everyone has a minute to speak. And when you hear the sound that Abraham just did, please stop. If you'd like to speak, please indicate to me, and I'll do my best to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. And of course, no interruptions. even though this is a debate, we still want one person speaking at a time just so the audience can clearly hear everything. And also, for the audience, if you really like what a panelist is saying, please click your fingers, as this shows that you're interested in the debate. And now, onto the initial opinion. So what are the good points of social media? And what are the bad points? So who would like to go first?
Now, being an advocate for saying that social media is bad, I still can see some of the good inside of it. It is a great way to socialize. Yes, I know. And at the same time, connect with families and many other people around the world. It's
There are a lot of good points about social media. First of all, there are 62% of people who get their news from social media, which is very important because we need to be aware of what's going on around the world at a quick, fast pace, because this era is a very fast-moving peoples. So that's one good point. The good and bad, I'll say that the good is that it does connect other people, and I think it's especially for the older generation, when I feel like they feel really isolated in our generation because we move so fast, and social media is something where they can connect to while we can also connect to. The bad points is that we connect to everything, and I think it's up to us and up to parents as well to teach their kids what to connect to, how to connect to, and what to do with those connections that you develop on social media. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think social media can be a great tool. It's, like other panelists have said, a great way of keeping in touch with everyone, staying in contact. And also in schools, like in our school, a lot of the teachers, a lot of the sports teams, they communicate through group chats on social media, which is a great way to reach everyone pretty fast. But also, one of the bad things is kind of the way we use it, in the sense that because we're so focused on social media, we lose the sense of human contact and human interaction. We're losing almost kind of losing our sense of humanity and what makes us human, like through social media.
So we're covering the bad point about social media. One of the biggest things that can be used as a weapon for social media is basically mob mentality and able to spread a lot of propaganda. As you can tell from the anti-vax movement and some various other things. And also remember that fight that was organized on social media a couple of years ago? The Venezuela incident that happened. Fights can be organized in secretly, and it doesn't require to meet or anything. And due to the privacy laws and stuff, we aren't allowed to fully monitor everyone. That's one thing. And also another bad point is the ability for companies and various other very corporate suits to control and target market you. And they use target marketing to allow to buy their product.
A bad point about social media is social media activism, whether it's a real cause of change or are they just chasing clout. And the thing is, there's an incident going on with Sudan, and social media, yes, it's a good way to spread the awareness to everyone, but there are some pages that are being famous from these from the whole spread or the whole interest that the people have, and that comes down to consumerism, where some people will use these unfortunate circumstances to other people to get better or get more out of it, which is very sad. I think going off of what she said, I think this is all coming from being educated enough to differentiate what's good and bad. And I think that just relates to real life as well. Like you have people who advertise and who will be really fake, but you just have to be able to know yourself who is good and who is bad. And I think that also comes with what he was saying as well, with social media organizations, like people using for bad to go communicate with people. If you think about back in the olden days, before social media even existed, people were still meeting up, people were still sending notes, people were still meeting up and doing really bad things. But social media is just a tool. It all depends on how we use it. You can use it for good and you can use it for bad. But I think social media is getting such a bad light, but you're focusing on social media blaming the tool instead of blaming the person who's using it. So,
yeah, just going off of the whole social media being a tool thing, it's definitely a tool, and I think there's a certain degree of common sense that needs to be acknowledged and needs to come into it. Like, we should know for ourselves what's right, what's wrong, and just how to, like Tatiana said, differentiate between the two. So I don't think we should be angry at social media. We should really look at who's using it and what they're using it for.
And to follow up on the awesome opinions that we have here, it's really up to the person. Like in every single situation, in every single way, any ideas, anything that is created by us, there's always that kind of those kind of people, the people that who abuse the system, to abuse others. That's the sad thing about humans. Like, it's not really the social media's fault. It was created for what it's intended for, to connect and allow people to talk to each other without, going face to face. Like the good point of social media is that it allows people like me, who's really, I am literally sweating in my jacket right now, talking in front of these people, like introverts and all that. It allows them to connect without like having a nervous breakdown or anxieties to go straight to I don't know, seeing Lucifer himself. Yeah, that's how deep down it goes. But in serious notes, like if you ever see anything in life, there's always going to be a bad. Yin yang, really. There's always going to be a bad and a good. Social media is one heck of a blessing, I gotta say. But at the same time, the ability to turn into such a powerful weapon is something that we need to really look at. Like, it's really come down to common sense, as you say it. And like, we need to really stop people from abusing this system, or else we'll probably end up in a dystopian future that we do not know how to control it.
So, one good point about social media is that work and a means to survive and how to get bread on the table for your family. And 19%, it's fact, 19% of hiring managers make their hiring decisions based on information found on social media, which is a really big thing if it's worldwide. And that's a really good, it's a good way to get a faster reaction from employees or employers. And yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think social media can also be someone's platform. I think especially for people who are introverted and who would rather shy away from the spotlight and not talking up front. I think social media is really good for people who don't know how to connect. How is it? Is it connect? Not saying in real life, but like in yeah, like social. Yeah, like when they struggle to face to face, and that's why social media was there to be like, oh, it's okay, it's alright. Like, it's okay, you don't have to talk to that person, you don't have to do that. You can just message them. That's okay, you can just FaceTime them, we can call them. So it's like appealing to everybody instead of just a small portion.
So just going off of that, like I completely agree. It's amazing for people that perhaps find it hard to have face-to-face conversations. But on the flip side of that, it kind of takes away any opportunity for like introverts and people that struggle with face-to-face contact. It kind of takes away the opportunity for them to maybe overcome that. And like other people that are pretty extroverted, like they're pretty confident in that. With social media, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back into this shell of not talking to anyone like personally, just talking to a screen because everyone else is doing it. I think peer pressure and mob mentality is a huge factor in social media and the way we use it.
To follow up on what you said about like how like introverts and all that meets other people, like I'm gonna talk about like the thing about social media is that I was to meet a lot of people. Like I meet a doctor on Facebook easily. Just search up a doctor's name, blam, he's right there. I message him, say I got cancer or something, and he'll probably message back. Yeah. Don't worry. It's just a joke. But anyways, on serious notes, it can also be a danger. Like on the flip side of like meeting people around the world, like there are those people. Remember, there are peoples out there that will rather meet you but manipulate you into doing things that you yourself will probably won't do. Like there's like I've gone on social media. I know all about all the problems on there. Like one of the biggest is you do not know who the hell you're talking to on the other side. That 11-year-old that you just met, he might be a 32-year-old named Larry from the USA. And he might be ready to do something. Or he might be a scammer, just scamming you. Like if you're watching a Dr. Phil episode, there was this episode of a man that got scammed out of thousands of dollars. That is German. Yeah, it's really come up to common sense.
Common sense.
Yeah, that's really hard if they're very good on it.
Okay, yeah, like what he said, common sense. So I want to highlight another, well, I would say it's a positive point of social media, and that is the ability to do e-learning from wherever you want to. Like, if you want to go overseas, but you have all of these things due, it's all online, it's there, it's quick, it's fast, and yeah, I think that's important because that also is your future. And well, if you're educated, you have a future, which is why social media is one of those platforms that can help you. As everyone else has said, it's a tool and you are not the tool. The social media is the tool.
Going off of the whole, you never know for sure who you're talking to, Catfish. You guys seen that show? Heard about that show? Yeah, that entire show is dedicated to the whole point of you don't know who you're talking to behind social media. So, yeah, like you said, I think it really does come back to the whole being educated about how to use social media and use it for the right reasons and kind of how to tell when something's not right or something isn't what it seems.
So just a quick question to the audience. As we had before, Telesia was talking about using social media as a platform for learning. So what do you think is most used at Manila High School as of right now? Anyone in the audience? How many people do you think use it every day? Well, it's Facebook with 2,439 users per day. And that is basically a bit more than the basically population of our school. So this means teachers probably also use Facebook. Now, do you think this is a concern moving on? Do you think that education should be do you think parents should be educated as well about social media, as parents instill in us the foundational values that we use in our daily lives? Because we hear about learning at school what social media does, the goods and the bad. So do you think parents should also be taught about that as well?
Yeah, I definitely agree that our parents and some of the other generations should be educated as much as we are, or we strive to be, because we all use social media in different ways, but at the core of it, that's kind of the same values, like to stay connected, to learn things, because you never stop learning. And yeah, social media can do some pretty great things. I mean, this debate itself, the whole organization and our organization of it, it ran through a social media group chat. So yeah, some pretty good things to come. It's just like we keep going back to how we use it.
Well, I think yes, they should be educated on social media, but it depends on like whether they want to or not, I guess, because it's common sense, like what's good and bad. We know what is good and bad, you know? You're not gonna go and verbally abuse someone intentionally, only if you're a bully or whatever. But I guess, yeah, it would be great if they would, but then again, our generation would want to upgrade because of the previous generation's knowledge, you know?
Talking about like what they said, students should be educated on what they're doing on there, because like not a lot of people will even know what half the feature on Facebook will do. Like literally, there's so many features, so many tabs. Like I know people that don't even know where to find the logout button on Facebook. But yeah, it's all come down back to what we said: common sense, education, and very like how we use social media in general, and also Facebook. A lot of people use Facebook.
I think that parents should educate their children, because these days we kind of all have all the answers we need in our phones, and it's always just a click away from knowing what the answer is. And I feel like parents need to be educated, because kids these days no longer need to ask them questions. How do you do this? How do I do that? But I want to know this, but I want to know that. They don't need to ask their parents anymore. So how could their parents know what's inside of their children's minds if they're constantly using their phones to ask the questions? I think it's just also social media, it's a good bridge to communication, but it can also be the barrier of communication. It can also be the messenger of miscommunication. So I think that parents should be educating their kids, whether they like it or they don't.
Just to go off that, I think the whole thing, I absolutely agree that our parents should educate our children, but also I think our children need to educate our parents, because there's a lot that we can learn from each other. And I think that some parents or some people in the older generations, they kind of tend to overlook just how much the young people have to teach. But the miscommunication thing, there is a lot of that through social media, because I guess that's one of the bad things about social media, things like tone, sarcasm, things like that, rhetorical questions. You can't, like things you will convey through speech and through the way you talk, those can't exactly be convinced. They can't be exactly portrayed through social media, through messages. So I think through that, a lot of miscommunications and a lot of arguments can come through that. But just going back to the parent thing, I think a lot of their unwillingness to learn about social media comes from the lack of education, the not knowing too much about it. So I reckon
Well, I think that social media, the education of social media, it's like two sides because there's bad points about it and there's good points about it, but sometimes obliviousness is bliss, right? And looking at the previous generation and how they don't know about social media as much as we do, we look at how they've communicated, how they've worked, whatever they've set in place in their time with their technology. And I think they have grown from what they had. And so with social media, we should also grow with what we have instead of focusing, yes, there's so many bad points, but because one bad point can take away millions of positives. So I feel like that's the situation with us right now. Yeah.
Another point that was brought up in our discussions as a group was addiction and social media addiction that is very prevalent in our generation. So what are the panelists' views on social media addiction, and have you seen it around you?
Yeah, I'll start off this one. I definitely think it's a thing. It's a huge thing. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about social media kind of limiting the humanity and like the humanity of human contact. Like they kind of get addicted to the whole, I don't have to go anywhere or do anything. I don't have to go talk to people, which is great for like some people, but for the majority it can start, it can just start, it can snowball, it can spiral, and yeah.
I think people need to start to look at social media addiction like as any other addiction, like drugs and alcohol. Like, I don't think people take social media addiction as seriously as it should be taken. I think that social media addiction is still coming from a sense of belonging. It's still coming from a sense of, I'm trying to escape, so I'm going to use this to make me feel better. Social media addiction needs to be taken more seriously, and it is taken too lightly, especially within our generation, because they may think, social media is just a normal thing. But so is eventually drinking, so is eventually taking drugs, so is eventually finding out of all these other things. Social media needs to be taken seriously because, as we said, it's a weapon. So why don't you take social media addiction seriously? Just going off from addictions, period. I think, all addictions aren't really taken seriously. If you think about it, people know that you can get addicted from smoking, but they still do it. And I think, as much as it's bad, there are also good points about it, about humanity. We all have a choice, whether you want to or not. It's this choice that enables us to be humans anyway. And with trying to escape, what's wrong with trying to escape from all the bad things by using these addictions? I'm not saying go ahead and do drugs or whatever. I'm just saying there is healthy ways to get over addictions, and there are healthy ways, helplines and Youthline NZ. But, there's choice. Thanks.
So, there's one also thing that we missed out. When it comes to social media addiction, like gaming addiction and all that, there's a similarity between them as you lose a lot of sleep because of social media addiction, because your mind is always fixated, and also there's something called missing out syndrome.
Oh, is it FOMO?
Yeah, FOMO. Yeah.
FOMO.
Yeah, it's developed because the more that you live in the cloud, the more you feel like you missed out on things, because you look at all everybody's achievements.
The
Yeah. You see your friend out there having fun, drinking up all freaking bashing through the club and stuff. Not that kind of bashing, like, you know, like slamming down on the club and having fun. Yeah, just like having fun, and you're at home and you just feel like you should have been out there with them and things.
Yeah, I think social media addictions I think it all relates back to mental health. Any addiction goes back to mental health.
Just to be clear, we don't condone taking drugs, drinking, anything like that. But yeah, I think the whole missing out syndrome does come back to the sense of belonging. Like, you see something and it's like, oh, why am I not there? I want to be there. I want to be a part of things. So you try and use the social media to try and reach out to more people. But that's a pretty basic concept. Like, you reach out to people just to try and get that human interaction, but you're missing the whole point. It's just through a screen. Like, that screen, yes, you may be talking to your best friend on the other side of the screen, but it's not the same as talking to them in person. It's not the same as having that interaction that you're looking for. And I think people need to realize that through using social media as a way to reach out, I think that's great, but at the same time, it's not going to give you what you're looking for. It's just going to give you a very basic thing of what you're looking for.
And also another thing about it is social media addiction can get really serious when that person, like, I've seen people ruin their lives because of it. They become so introverted because they think they can just talk to anyone behind the screen. However, there's also one more thing about it. You will start depending. You know, like those people that likes only, like they see not monetary, personal value in likes, and which is a serious mental issue that can happen to someone that is addicted to social media, because they view that people with higher likes will be better than them, and they just want to more and more and go out, and they just slowly seal themselves away trying to get that like goal, trying to get people to like them, follow them. And it's a serious issue. Like, going back to like addictions and stuff, this is one of the many effects that like different kind of addictions can have. Like, social media addiction isn't just alcohol and that. Like, we know alcohol is bad. None of us are going to drink it. But social media isn't, at first glance, it's not that bad. But when you think about it, it just goes down a rabbit hole that is so dark where the light will not reach.
Just, you talked about the link between social media addiction and gaming addiction. I know someone with like a gaming addiction. He used to be like, everyone goes and plays games for like an hour or two, but I mean, this boy, he goes home, goes into his room, shuts the door, then comes out just to get food or like to go to the toilet, and then goes straight back into his room. And even then, like, the food, he'll just start taking it into his room so he can just eat like while he's gaming. And it's just kind of that whole isolation. But yeah, I definitely think self-confidence is a huge issue, and social media, the whole likes thing, it doesn't help. But yeah, people see those likes and those followers on Instagram, man. Everyone wants to hit that 1K for some reason. Like, it's these likes and these followers, they're just digital things. I think we need to help these people with these addictions, and they have serious self-confidence and self-doubt issues because of it. I think we need to help them see that these are just digital things. They don't define you. These likes, they will never define you as a person. You are you. Nothing can change that.
With this whole followers thing, I'm probably going to get all religious in a second, so I'm sorry. I'm very Christian, so I think that you need to look at it this way. Like, Jesus had 12 followers, right? Only one of them was waiting for him when he was carrying the cross. So I think you need to look at it as like, these followers, they're nice, but in real life, will they actually be there for you? I think you need to differentiate that some people will want to be with you in your good times, when you're performing miracles. Everyone wants to be there. Everyone wants to be there when you're like, oh, doing really good in life. But when you're doing bad in life, who's actually there for you? I think people, it just goes back to mental health. Like, who's your friends? Who's not your friends? And it also relates back to the common sense. The common sense. Like, just, it's okay if you don't have a lot of friends. It's okay if you don't have a lot of followers. It doesn't matter what they think. It matters what you think of yourself. So, yeah, common sense. Common sense.
So earlier, everything that we're going to say about it is all relate back to common sense. And common sense is knowledge. And knowledge is power. And I want to ask a question about, like, in the audience, right? So, do you guys know exactly why addiction happened? No? Well, I would explain it, but I'll just make it short. So, like social media, when we get that first 10 likes, we're like, oh yes, that rush of happiness within us. And then it slowly starts turning into something more vicious. The more that you get, the more that your brain is used to this. So then, like, slowly you just want more and more and more until it just turns into this vicious cycle that will just destroy your life. Like alcohol, for example, it's the same. Any psychedelic would be the same because, like, your brain will feel it at first, that kick, that very happy, feel-free thought. Yeah, the endorphins just kicks in, and then when your body runs out of it or get used to it, it just wants more.
But what's wrong with wanting more? You know? Like, I'm not saying addictions are good, but to want more is to have, I guess, a standard that you set for yourself. Liking something is obviously different from being addicted to something, but when you like something, you wanna do it all the time. Social media, if you're addicted to social media, there's also good points about it. You can express yourself. And I know that a lot of people say that you're limited to do that, but obviously common sense, if you can have your own spam pages. I know a lot of people have spam pages and then their real pages, because on their spam, they're just doing whatever they want. And I guess you could say that, there's a lot of opportunities out there with social media. Like Justin Bieber, he was a YouTuber, and now he's a multi-billionaire, I think, just because he was on YouTube doing his thing that he's addicted to. He's addicted to music, so he wanted to share it to other people, and yeah, because he wanted more.
Yeah, no, there's definitely nothing wrong with wanting more from life. Everyone wants more. We all want to be successful. We want to grow up, set ourselves up, have a family, do whatever you want to do with your life. And that's completely okay. But I think we need to realize the point where wanting more, where it becomes a fixation, where it becomes an obsession, where you're never happy with where you are. You're always looking to where you want to be, and you don't stop, take a breath, look around and acknowledge the blessings that you already have.
So we've only got a few minutes left, and I'd just like to bring everything back to where we are now, to MH. So I'm just going to ask a question about how do we deal with social media at our school? How do we deal with it as a platform for learning? How do we deal with its outcomes, with its issues? Do you think we're doing well? Do you think we're progressing with the times, or do you think we're still stuck back in the past?
Yeah, I'll make mine short. I think we're doing pretty good. I think that students at MH just need to be more mindful about what they put up on social media, especially since we're a school in South Auckland where social media is not on our side. We just got to be careful on kind of portraying our culture and creating cultural awareness. But yeah, other than that, I think MH is all good.
Yeah, I think, like Tatiana said, I think our school is doing pretty good with how we do social media. like I said earlier, a lot of our sports teams and our music stuff, a lot of programs at our school, the communication comes through social media, but also what Tatiana said about our students being mindful, but not just our students, our staff as well. Just being mindful what you put on social media, and once it's there, even if you delete it, even if you take it down, it's always there. There will always be a copy of it somewhere. Yeah, I think just to wrap up, our school is doing pretty good. Like, if there's a fight video or if someone gets word about it, they send it into a school or one of the teachers at the school deals with it like they would if it happens in school. So yeah, I think it's pretty good.
I want to your comments and stuff. I say that even though I'm against social media, like I barely use Facebook or anything, but I'm still advocating for it as well. Like I'm pretty on the fence about it. But remember that it comes down to common sense. And the school has been, they're doing good, but I think the students need to have some more common sense on when to use it. Like I've seen my classmates just sitting there on Facebook while the teacher is just, they're not like, they're sitting at the back, so I'll just assume the teacher didn't notice because they gotta keep an eye on like 30 students. So they just sit in the back, just for a good old time, just searching through their histories, and like that has come down to common sense. And like knowing when, where, and how to use social media is like something that we need to advocate more in our school, like teach them. Yeah. Like, come on guys. Show some real.
So I think that I'm very much of a conspiracy theorist. You know, there's a point where you can hide something, and a point where sometimes it needs to be in the light. And going off, I truly agree, you know, with the fights and stuff like that. But you know, I'm just saying, like, if we didn't show the negative part of our school and just had shown the good parts of our school, isn't that a bit false or isn't that a bit fake? Because, you know, of course there's fights here and stuff. Oh.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's been watching in the live audience and online. We really appreciated you contributing to the debate by clicking your fingers and keeping everything interesting. Thank you to the panelists who gave their time and to everyone else involved in making this event come to life. Have a good break, and we'll probably see you next term. Thank you.
Well then, I better such that video up. Thank you team. I better start home soon.